What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to find positive and negative coterminal angles of degrees and of radians, right? So we're going to go over these 5 examples right here. Let's start with the one on top, 90 degrees. All right, so we want to find a positive and a negative coterminal angle for 90 degrees. All right, so in order to find, first of all, a positive coterminal angle, all you have to do is add 360 degrees, right? So 90 plus 360, that's equal to 450 degrees, right? Now, in order to find a negative coterminal angle, all you have to do is subtract 360 degrees, right? So 90 minus 360 is equal to negative 270 degrees, all right? Why does that work? Why is that the case? Well, let's move this up a little bit and draw a little X, Y axis right here. All right, so the first thing we want to do is figure out what 90 degrees looks like. Well, whenever we're drawing angles in standard position, we always start along this side, right, the right side along this X axis, and then we either rotate in that direction, right, that's a in this direction, that's a positive rotation, or we rotate in this direction, right, this is a negative rotation. So here we're given positive 90 degrees, all right? Well, then we know this is 0 degrees, this is 90 degrees, right? This is 180 degrees, and this is 270 degrees, all right? So 90 degrees, as you can see, would be right here. So this side is where we started. This is the initial side, and then we rotated to there, right? This is where we ended. This is called the terminal side. Now, coterminal angles are just angles that start at the exact same spot and end at the exact same spot. So we already found one way to draw this angle, right? We can start at 0 and go to 90. Another way we could draw this angle is, what if we, again, start from 0, right? We always have to start from 0. But this time, let's go past 90. Let's keep going all the way around the circle, right? That's 360 degrees. And then let's hit this 90 degree, this vertical part right here, okay? So as you can see, we started at the exact same spot and we ended at the exact same spot. This one in purple that I drew just took one extra rotation, right? We had to go around the circle, right? An extra 360 degrees to get to this spot. Okay, so what is this angle in purple? Well, let's see. We again went all the way around the circle, right? That's 360, and then we went another 90. So 360 plus 90 is equal to 450, right? Like we already figured out. All right, so that's why simply adding 360 to the angle works. Now, what about the negative one? Well, it works the same way, all right? So if we want to find an angle that starts at this same arm right here and ends at this same arm right here, we can simply rotate in the opposite direction, right? The negative direction. So here we can start again at this initial side and rotate this way this time to that side right there. And what is this angle right here? Well, let's see, this is 90, this is 180, this is 270, right? So in other words, 90 minus 360 is equal to negative 270. Okay, so that's why simply subtracting 360 degrees also works. Okay, so if we wanted to find the rest of these coterminal angles, we know now that the method works, right? So here, negative 210 degrees is what we're given. If we want to find a positive coterminal angle, we can again just add 360 degrees. So negative 210 plus 360 is equal to positive 150 degrees, all right? So that's a coterminal angle with negative 210. And same thing, if we wanted to find another negative coterminal angle, we could subtract 360 degrees, which in this case, that'd be equal to negative 570 degrees. All right, now there are some tricky questions sometimes. So for instance, 500 degrees. So if we wanted to find a positive coterminal angle, again, we could simply add 360 to that, and that's gonna be equal to 860 degrees, which is positive, right? Now, if we took 500 and we subtracted 360 degrees, well, that's equal to positive 140 degrees, all right? So clearly this is not a negative angle. What we would have to do instead is basically go all the way around one more time, all right? So we'd have to subtract another 360, which in this case, that would be equal to negative 220 degrees. Okay, so now let's move on to the radians. So now we have pi over 3. So how would we add or subtract 360 from this? Well, the only conversion that we need to remember is that 360 degrees is the same thing as 2 pi radians, right? So adding or subtracting 360 degrees is the same thing as adding or subtracting 2 pi, all right? So then here, pi over 3, in order to find a positive coterminal angle, we can simply add 2 pi. All right. Now, in order to add or subtract fractions, they have to have the same denominator, right? So in order to write an equivalent fraction, we need this fraction. Well, this isn't a fraction right now. Let's put it over 1, all right? So now it's a fraction, but they have to have the same denominator, okay? So in order to do that, we can simply take the bigger denominator and multiply it by this one on the bottom and on the top, all right? So if we multiply this together, on top, 2 pi times 3, that's equal to 6 pi. And on the bottom, 1 times 3 is equal to 3. Okay, so now we can add these two, right? So now we have pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3. And now we can just add those straight across, right? So pi plus 6 pi, that's like 6 plus 1, right? So that's equal to 7 pi. And they still have the same denominator right there, all right? So a positive coterminal angle, in this case, would be 7 pi over 3, right? Now, let's find a negative coterminal angle, all right? So here, let's just write it on this side. So this time we're gonna say pi over 3 minus 2 pi. But we already converted 2 pi into an equivalent fraction, right? We converted it to 6 pi over 3. So let's write this as 6 pi over 3. So now we can subtract these, right? So here, basically 1 minus 6, that's equal to negative 5 on top. So here we're gonna get negative 5 pi over 3, right? So there's a negative coterminal angle. Okay, now lastly, let's find a positive and negative coterminal angle for negative 7 pi over 2. So again, here we can simply add 2 pi. But again, we're gonna have to convert this into an equivalent fraction. So to do that, we can just take this denominator and multiply it that on the bottom and on the top, right? So on top, 2 pi times 2, that's equal to 4 pi, and on the bottom, we simply have 2, right? So 2 pi, in this case, an equivalent fraction, would be 4 pi over 2. Okay, so let's move that right there, and now we can add these together, right? So on top, negative 7 plus 4, that's equal to negative 3 pi, and on the bottom, we just have a 2, all right? So as you can see, this is still a negative number. So we're gonna have to add another 360 degrees, or in other words, another 2 pi, right? We're gonna have to make another way around until it turns into a positive angle, all right? So we're gonna have to add another 2 pi, but again, we can just rewrite that as the equivalent fraction right here, right? So we can add 4 pi over 2, all right? This time, negative 3 plus 4 on top is positive 1, right? So positive 1 pi, or simply just pi, and on the bottom, we simply have a 2, all right? So there's a positive coterminal angle for negative 7 pi over 2. Okay, great. So now let's find a negative coterminal angle. So again, we have negative 7 pi over 2, and this time we are going to subtract 2 pi. But again, we can just put the equivalent fraction, right? So we can subtract 4 pi over 2. So here we get negative 7 minus 4, that's equal to negative 11 pi over 2. So if you found the video helpful, make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments section below.